Yeah. We are live. This is not edited. This will not be a podcast. Warts and all, we are live. Aaron, you know who, you're a Long Island guy. You know who Bill O'Reilly is, right?
Yes, sir.
Fuck it! We'll do it live!
Let's do it.
Everybody come on, let's get down. Get down.
Shout out to Freak Bass for the music. That music is dope, isn't it?
It
Dude?
is dope.
It's
I
dope.
like it. It's got a lot of character.
They got a lot of character. All right, so I've got you for a short time this morning. We both have busy Saturdays with our family. Let's chat. Okay, so Courtney Cheek and Brian Chatlin, my partners in crime on Friends from Work, put up a great podcast this week talking about Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 2.
Yep.
We got a little behind getting that up live. That was my fault, not theirs. So we're a little behind on the Mando talk. So what I wanted to do is we'll do an official podcast this week on Mandalorian Episode 4. Maybe you can join us for that too. I just thought I wanted to get some content up about that episode. So let's talk about that for a few minutes. And then I just want to chat about a couple things. My wife and I saw Scream last night. I'm going to see Creed tonight. You've seen Creed, right?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen Shazam?
It's a Shinope in my book. No,
come
I'm not
on.
Gonna see it. Nah.
Come on.
I can't waste my money on that stuff, man. That's popcorn stuff.
Dude,
I'm not down for that anymore.
You're like the other side of the coin to the zaddies, man.
No, I can't do it.
Come
man.
on.
I absolutely did not like the first movie.
It was okay.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna sign up for it.
My biggest complaint of that movie, and really honestly, in a weird way, I hate to say this, as I know it's such a beloved film, and I do love Big with Tom Hanks, but bear with me here, okay? There's a correlation. Is that both of those movies, you have a young boy becoming big. The issue with both of those films, I know it's kind of crazy to compare them, but it's a fair comparison in my opinion, is that neither one of those actors, Tom Hanks or Jeremy Levi? No,
Zachary Levi.
Zach Jeremy Levi is a friend of mine. That's hilarious. If you're watching Jeremy, I love you. I got you in the brain. Zach Levi. They suddenly were like 13 and then they were 9 when they were adults. Do you agree with that?
No. I mean, I feel like, I think Tom Hanks did a better job at channeling a 13-year-old than
maybe.
And the thing is, you don't really get to live in Josh Baskin's shoes for much time. Like, you are introduced to him, and then all of a sudden it's like Tom Hanks, and it's that way. And then the little Josh Baskin doesn't show up until like the last 2 minutes of the movie. Whereas
I love Big, by the way.
I'll watch Big all the time.
Oh,
but
dude,
the problem with Shazam is that you get this switch back and forth between Billy and Shazam back and forth, and they don't feel connected. And the other problem that I had with that film was that he went on, like, his whole life, his whole premise, like his whole reason for living was to find his mother. And then when he finds his mom, he just kind of takes it off the chin and is like, oh, well, I'll just go Shazam. Like, it didn't like, I would have destroyed a 13-year-old if you went and knocked on the door and you're like, I lost you on purpose.
I agree with that. I agree with all that. I do think the film was still fun. Wasn't this? None of these films have to be Endgame or Infinity War or The Dark Knight or the Batman or, insert badass comic book movie here. They don't have to all be that. They can be just fun. I hate, Courtney, don't hate me. I'm going to share a private text that you sent to Brian and I, but I'll paraphrase, so I'm not saying it exactly. Maybe then I can get away with this. Essentially, the sentiment that we have on our Friends from Work thread last night, Courtney loved it and says it makes fun of the genre and doesn't take itself so seriously. It's so much fun. One of the best DC films she's seen. Said what she said.
That's not a hard stretch though, because the DC films have not been. They've been lackluster.
Well, I mean, I don't know, man. Come on, there's
Black Adam, trash.
Hold on. Black Adam's not trash, but Black Adam is forgettable.
No, it's trash.
It's
so bad.
it's okay.
As I bought Black Adam and like just immediately the moment he starts going through walls,
Yeah, no,
immediately regretted my purchase.
It's not, and even the Henry Cavill thing at the end, and I like Henry Cavill fine. I think he was a really good. I think he was an underused Superman, but that didn't land for me. I think they were trying to make that I mean, it was cool. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire returning to Spider-Man. It wasn't anything to that level. Maybe in a certain faction of a bubble within a bubble within a bubble of fandom, they thought that. But let's be real. Okay, well, cool. Well, I want to talk about those things at the very end.
Yeah,
but I want to do this keep this about 30 minutes. So let's talk about the Mandalorian episode 3, season 3. This one, well, if I say, man, this one was divisive amongst fans,
that's you in the echo chamber, my man.
You could just say that in that Star Wars online fandom, virtually everything.
For sure.
But I mean, it is divisive in the fact that just in my personal bubble, you're obviously very much part of that. It's divisive. You know, call it 20 friends that are good faith fans.
Yeah.
Split roughly. And people like Mark Byrne and Tom McQuillan on Twitter, love those guys. They didn't like it at all. And I typically am in line with most of their Star Wars opinions. Eric Holzman loved it over at BOF, our friend. I don't know where you stand on this thing. I don't think we've even texted about it.
No, we haven't. That's actually why I called you the other day, because I was like, we got to hash it out.
All right. So we're talking about the Mandalorian season 3, episode 3, the one that just dropped last week. If you're watching this, it's Saturday, March 18th, 2023. Episode 4 will drop this Wednesday or Tuesday at midnight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was fine. I you know, what I appreciate about the episode was that Dr. Cushing has been, you know, he's kind of popped up here and there, and we didn't really know what was happening with him. I thought it was interesting, and then it's also, you know, the Moff Gideon piece, like kind of closing that and seeing what happens to, you know, the Imperials as they're being reassimilated to, you know, the new galactic, the New Republic. So I thought that was interesting. You know, I thought it was going to be a completely different episode, because the way that it starts, it's like a dogfight. You know, we've got the Mythosaur thing that happens.
Sure.
Bo-Katan is kind of playing the cards close to the vest. Like, they're kind of like laying some really deep stuff.
Yeah.
And then it switches, and I didn't mind it. I just thought I was on board for a different show. And then it kind of like, it was funny because
it's subverted.
I think it was like 15 minutes in is when the Mando stuff stopped, and then the Dr. Cushing stuff kicked in. Yeah. I was like, wow, this is actually a really long episode. Like, how long are we going to stick around with this guy? I'm kind of glad they did what they did, but because I do think you got to break it up, but I don't like how like clear cut it was. Like, it was almost, the Mando stuff bookends a very dense story. And I know I'm not the only one that feels this, and I watch The Bad Batch regularly. What I'm not appreciating about what new Star Wars stuff is doing is,
oh God,
are you ready for it?
Oh Jesus,
you're ready for it. It is trying.
Disney sucks. They ruined Star Wars.
No, it's trying to clean up the sequel trilogy.
No, come on, dude.
No, dude. Like,
bullshit. Sorry,
I'm telling you, dude. So, are you watching? I'm sorry. Are you watching The Bad Batch?
What? Hold on.
Wait. Are you watching The Bad Batch?
Not religiously, no, but I've seen it.
I'm sorry. Then you don't have anything to say about it.
No, and I'm behind on that, and admittedly so. You know how I am with Star Wars animation. I'm always about a year behind, but right. I do eventually get caught up.
Sure.
And I do, and it is good. But here's let me just say this real quick. By saying that, then you're telling me that Rogue One's job was to clean up A New Hope.
No.
Come on, absolutely.
No.
It took a plot hole in A New Hope and it filled it in.
That is not a plot hole. That was not a plot hole.
The Death Star.
I don't think anybody who walked out of the first Star Wars goes, "That's a plot hole." Like,
so, okay.
I think people who walked out of the Rise of Skywalker and this whole thing about Palpatine coming back was like, where did that come from? And really. That's what these shows are starting to do. These shows are filling the gap. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm not appreciating it because I don't think that's where I want to see the story go.
Okay, you hated the Rise of Skywalker, fair?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if I
No, hate
loved
is a
it.
strong word. I strongly disliked it.
I really, really liked it. Borderline loved it. It's not The Last Jedi, and Last Jedi is a masterpiece. And Force Awakens is nostalgia, fun, and it makes me smile ear to ear. But I thought that The Rise of Skywalker did a really good job of it. And what J.J. Abrams doesn't get enough credit for in that movie, dude, is that Carrie Fisher was gone. She had left us, and she was deceased, unfortunately, sadly. And the way he was able to interwoven her story in with unused footage, and it worked. Like, come on, man, there's some beautiful stuff in that, especially with her and Ray. Anyway, but my dog's downstairs doing some ruckus.
Oh, your dog like choking?
Yeah, my dog's downstairs moving his bowl around. We're live. Anyway, so okay, aside from that, so you don't like The Rise of Skywalker, so maybe that's where your bias is coming in a little bit, because
it's not really biased.
It's complimenting that movie that you hate. Fair?
No.
Because I mean, let's face it, because you're right. This is all setting up stuff for the
First Order.
For the First Order and the cloning of Emperor, and quite frankly, even Snoke. Right?
I mean, we already saw bits of Snoke. Like, I think in like episode season 2 of Mando. I'm not so opposed to like, kind of like basically putting some Easter eggs in there. Like, this is overtly going into we're doing some brain wiping stuff. We're starting the first, like, it feels very much, and I don't know where the next episode is going to go. And it feels like, they're gonna start to paint this picture of like the First Order is there. We see it stand up, blah, blah, blah. And then it becomes more of a slot into the sequel trilogy.
Sure.
I'm okay with the alluding to the First Order, or like alluding to things happening out in the Outer Rim that some of the pilots are noticing. I'm okay with alluding to the fact that there's some cloning facilities, like Dr. Cushing's story. Is it Cushing or Pershing?
Pershing, right?
Pershing, sorry. Yes, Pershing, that's right. Dr. Pershing's story is it was fine, but again, I think it was like too heavy-handed on like, this is going to be. As a matter of fact, they played the Rise of the, I forgot the name of the song, Rise of the Resistance song.
Yeah.
In the show. And I was like, yes, okay, First Order, great, fine, blah, blah, blah.
Well, okay, so hey, check your phone. I sent you a text, a little note there. But here's the deal. So yes, 100%, and I think that it's not trying to defend bad decisions. I think it's just setting it up because it's naturally what it would do, because it's the sequel trilogy is canon. First of all, it's real. It happens. The events are on the horizon. Luke is in between that post Return of the Jedi stage and his exile from his nephew shenanigans, so to speak. But what I loved about this episode more than anything is that, to me, and I loved it, it's in my top 3 favorite Mandalorian episodes. And I said that when I saw it, and I expected more people to agree with that. And I was kind of surprised by the reaction. It reminds me a lot of The Last Jedi in some ways. It's like, it's subverted expectations. Everybody's like, that's not the episode I wrote in my head.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think it was fine. I think, like I said, the telling the story for the character is fine. I just think what it does for me is it puts a little, not that the episode is bad, but it puts a little thing in my stomach of like, we're kind of doing a little here. We're gonna connect those dots now a little stronger for you, because like that's what the Bad Batch has been doing too.
Yeah, but
the Bad Batch has been about the cloning stuff as well, and
that's
it's
a good thing.
It's fine. I think we're getting because if I'm a consumer of all things Star Wars, I'm being bombarded with cloning stuff.
Okay, listen. Here's the deal. So what? You are the.
I
love you to death, but you want this franchise to change for you, and I like the way it's going, and that's the difference in you and I right now in Star Wars. And there's no right or wrong answer.
Give me Andor.
Obviously, we're just we're good friends and we like to bust balls.
Yes,
but there is a little bit of truth to what I'm saying. You're really big on get out of the Skywalker saga, get away from Tatooine, and all these things. And I'm like, I don't give a shit if it stays there forever or goes a different direction, as long as the content is good. I don't care.
I'm not saying the content is bad.
If it's interesting and it's great and it's compelling, I don't care where it's at. But what I'll say to this is the thing I love about it. To me, it was like this mixture of Andor. Very much. There's a lot of Andor in that, not just the political intrigue, but the tone, right? It's like this granular character study. And I'm all for that, especially when it's done well, and it's done well here, and it's done well, very well in Andor, like exceptionally well. That's like A+. I give this like a B+, and that execution, but still very good. But you and I have always also agreed that we both like weird Star Wars. Like Star Wars, that's a little weird. Empire Strikes Back's weird. The Last Jedi is weird. I like weird Star Wars. I thought some early episodes of Boba Fett, when he's doing like peyote, like the Young Guns in the desert with the Tuskens. That's badass Star Wars to me. But so it's weird, but it has that Andor political intrigue, that slow burn, because it's methodical, man. And but I also it had a lot of like Last Jedi in there too. I felt like when they're on Coruscant, that's very much like oh my gosh, I'm going blank on the what's the glamorous city where everybody gambles?
Oh, Canto Bight.
Canto Bight. Thank you. Sorry. It's that same subculture of the top 1% in that universe and how they feel. One of the greatest lines in that episode in the new Mandalorian, where the guy's like, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, I can't keep up with what it's called anymore. It's called the Resistance. It's called the Rebellion. It's called the Jedi. It's called the Republic. Whatever. Blah blah blah. I don't care. I'm in my bubble, and I don't. Yeah, that's a great line. And then it had a lot.
Well, I mean, it does that does tie directly to The Last Jedi.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that was the whole thing. About what DJ was talking about. DJ was saying, like, it doesn't matter what side you're on. Dude, everyone's in the business of making money, and that's what they're doing. I'm
not crazy about the character of DJ in The Last Jedi, and I love Benicio del Toro, and I love that movie. That character's, I think that stutter is kind of, it's like almost borderline offensive, right? It's like, what is this? It's
weird
fine.
Star Wars.
It's fine. It's okay if the character has a stutter. There's people that stutter. I'm just saying that it's like it almost was mocking stuttering in a way. It was just not very well done. Odd, because it stood out because the movie's so masterful, in my opinion, outside of that. But that scene where he's talking to Finn and he says, good guys, bad guys, what's the freaking difference, man? Basically, like it's all the same, because they're all in it for the same reasons. Right. They're just two sides of the same coin. It's a great line. And that's the thing I love about Disney Star Wars, is that the original trilogy was very black and white, good versus evil. I mean, literally black and white too, by the way. And those color schemes were intentional. And then the prequels are great, but let's face it, it's like a bunch of lawyer talk. You know what I mean? It's bloated. It's overwrought. The dialogue is stiff. It fits in the greater talk about the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars made the prequels better, right? You agree with that?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it kind of retroactively did.
I agree.
Yeah. So I think that this is the past is prologue. We've seen Lucasfilm do this already under the helm of George Lucas himself with Dave Filoni, and so there's nothing new about retroactively making things more tighter and better or whatever. But so that was very Last Jedi, and I love the prequel stuff. Like I said, it reminds me of Attack of the Clones. And this is the thing I like about Attack of the Clones. I know you're not crazy about that movie either. But I love the mystery of there's intrigue and mystery to Attack of the Clones. And that's what that part of the film is why I hold it in a higher regard than a lot, despite some of the dog shit in it. Let's face it, there is a lot of that in there in that film for sure. But man, all that stuff with like Detective Obi-Wan and the cloning and Jango Fett, man, all that stuff to me is, and the stuff that Dooku's doing behind the scenes. I love that stuff. And I felt there was a lot of that in this. From an aesthetic standpoint, the prequels are the prequels, especially the last two, because of the way they were shot, the way they were filmed. But the opera, where one of the best scenes in the freaking franchise, when Palpatine is seducing Anakin, that's where Pershing's speech was at, and that was cool. That was cool to see the stairs and all that, but it didn't feel like something getting shoved in my throat. I thought it was very I don't know. It ties it all in, man. It's poetry.
No, I mean,
would say.
It's like poetry.
It's like poetry.
I get that. I mean, they have to recognize that it's still the same world, and that that planet Coruscant is still very much intact. There wasn't much happening post Return of the Jedi. So I dig all of that aesthetic stuff, because it does, again, it has to feel like we're still in the same universe. and like I said, I think it's a fine episode. It's not exactly what I signed up for in that episode, but it's fine.
Me neither.
I think down the road we're getting a better sense of what Favreau and Filoni are kind of like the seeds that they're planting and using the Mandalorian as a means to get to a larger Star Wars narrative.
Because it can't just be about his quest to regain his status as an official.
No, I mean that got summarized in the first 15 minutes of that episode.
That's right, and then the cuteness of Grogu and all that. So for this show to exist beyond that, which has been working and it's been great, but it needed to expand. The way to judge this episode, as you know, is how does this tie into the larger season, and then obviously the show as a whole.
Right.
So we can judge it more as the season moves on. But it's my opinion that there was nothing in that thing that was filler or throwaway.
No, I don't think so.
That everything that happened is going to tie into something else.
I mean, it's tying directly into, the things that we know, we already know happened, right? So the cloning of the cloning of Palpatine, the rise of the First Order, how that all happened. The First Order grows, like festers at the heart of the New Republic,
Right.
because the New Republic, the capital was in Coruscant, and then they moved it to Hosnian Prime. So it's some interesting stuff. Obviously, it's very. What's a great example of this? The Winter Soldier. The idea of Hydra growing within the ranks of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Good example. Good analogy.
Yeah.
Well done. What are your expectations for this week's episode? I think that it's going to return to form in a sense, obviously, but then all the seeds that were planted will make more sense to the detractors. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I wonder if we're gonna start seeing like two stories kind of running in parallel, right? So the continued rise of the First Order through Pershing's eyes, but now we've got some interesting stuff happening. So, Bo-Katan is now assimilated into Death Watch again.
Yeah.
Will she take off her helmet? Like, what game is she playing? She wants to rule Mandalore again. She now knows, the prophecy is true about riding, the mythosaurs and all of that stuff.
Sure.
And all she technically needs is the Darksaber. I thought it was very in last week's episode. It was very interesting to see that Din still struggles with managing and sort of overpowering the Darksaber. Right when he turns it on, his arm drops, like the weight of it. And if you watch Bo-Katan use it, she uses it very much like a Jedi. It's very loose. It's very graceful. Like airy. Yeah, very graceful with it.
Yeah.
And that's not, they don't do that shit. They're not making that choice just because. Like, that's a real that's gonna have some implications for future episodes. So I'm interested to see more of what that looks like. And I'm also, every time I watch an episode of The Mandalorian, I'm like, where is Grogu now? Is Grogu like a Mandalorian helmet with like long ears of Beskar? Like,
yeah.
I'm interested to see what ultimately happens.
He may not have a happy ending.
He may not.
They may really subvert expectations and
kill the little.
I mean, it's
he turns to the dark side, and Din has to kill him.
Lucas wouldn't let that happen if he was still in charge. He'd be like, "You can't sell toys of a dead person." That's what he told Harrison Ford when he wanted to kill him off in Return of the Jedi.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. But overall,
and that's the thing about the Skywalker saga. It's that it's always been through the lens of the Skywalker saga. We now have other characters that could have been practicing the ways of the Force without being called Jedis. I mean, Ahsoka is one of those people. Ezra Bridger is another one. Cal Kestis.
Well, and we're about to get her show, and I'm looking forward to that. And I feel like these shows obviously are, they're all tied together in the sense that they're canon and in the same universe, but or universes, whatever you want to phrase it. But I do think that I think they're tied in more than we think. In other words, I don't think we've seen the end of Ewan McGregor, for instance. I don't think, obviously, Hayden Christensen's going to be in Ahsoka. I think that, obviously, Boba Fett and Mando are like this. They're brothers. Right. So we'll see where this is all going. And I feel like with, with Andor brought us this episode, because we haven't seen anything like this episode outside of Andor.
No.
That's the closest thing. I mean,
Yeah, you're 100% right. That's 100% accurate.
So we'll see how this all plays out. Okay, so real quick, and then I want to kind of just run through the next 5 or 10 minutes, a couple of things, and we'll give it a wrap. But overall, my friend, are you satisfied so far with the season? We're 3 episodes in?
I mean, we're only 4 episodes.
Or 3?
4 episodes in. 3?
Four is this week.
Okay, so 3 episodes in.
Yeah. So far so good. Yeah, a lot of good stuff, and like you said, there's a lot of seeds that are planted. All right, so shifting out of Star Wars, so we'll talk more about Mandalorian season 3, episode 4 this week, and that will be an official podcast that we'll stream on iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher, wherever you download podcasts. This is just our live show. Okay, Jen and I, my wife, saw Scream last night, and I'll just say this: I'll give a quick little rundown of my opinion of that film. I went in with very low expectations. I only really liked the first 2 or 3 of those, and they lost me. I didn't like the last one at all. I mean, it was fine, but it just I really love this movie. This movie was gory, fun, and it had some nice twist that I just didn't. Usually, I can say, whatever. Like, I knew Homegirl was Shaggy's daughter or whatever from the last film. What's his name?
Oh, Stu.
He played Shaggy in Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
But this one, there was a lot of really fun twists, man. Like, did you see it?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, dude, it's fun.
Did you see the
gory?
Did you see the other one?
I did. I've seen them all.
Okay.
It was fine.
I didn't mind it. I mean, see, it's funny because that's how I went into the other movie. Like, I was like on a plane, and I'm like, I might as well watch this movie. And I watched it, and I was like, shit, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
I sometimes miss my 3 to 4 hour business travel flights. I haven't done one of those in a hot minute. And man, that's when I would watch movies that I just wouldn't normally watch.
A lot of movies.
Yeah, dude. Like, okay, fine. I'm on this 4-hour flight from Dallas to San Francisco.
I watched Baby Driver recently. I've been meaning to see that. I watched 1917. I like Baby Driver, dude. I thought that was a great movie.
No.
Yeah, I like Baby Driver.
No.
But 1917. That was another banger movie. I was like, man, I'm being treated to some good stuff.
I know. I miss it. I love it. Makes me miss Virgin Airlines. Actually, that was a dope airline.
Yeah.
So anyway, go see Scream if you're a fan of the franchise. I can't speak to it. I couldn't do a podcast on Scream. I'm not well versed enough in the lore and the characters and everything. I've seen every film. Some I've seen twice, maybe even 3 times. This was a blast. I loved it. I would see it again, and I'd like to see it in the theater. Now tonight, if all goes as planned, Jen and I are going to go to dinner again. And nice, we don't have any kids with us at all. It's kind of weird, but I'm hoping that I get to see.
Don't make any excuses. Go see it.
No. Creed. We got to get on the road for a deal tomorrow. So we got to make it count tonight. I have been with Creed. You know my love for that franchise. I've been weird about this one because it just. I think I know. It's not warranted. I'm just saying. I'm just being honest about my feelings. I got too wrapped up in the Stallone slide drama with it all, and I just like it's his franchise. F that. How can they do a film without his involvement and everybody I've talked to, including you, like, dude, go see it. It's legit. It's you really liked it, right?
Yeah, it's good.
It's good. How does it rank with the other 2?
It's different than the other 2. Like, I'd say like vastly different. It's probably it's also very different from what you are used to seeing in these kinds of like Rocky type films. I feel like the first 2 movies are definitely by an extension of the Rocky universe, and this film is very different from that. I enjoyed it. The first one is still like I love because it caught me by surprise. And
Creed,
the
original
first Creed movie,
that came out of nowhere, dude.
I remember watching that and
good lord,
like bawling my eyes out.
Yeah.
And then actually in the second one too, I was like, oh my man. Like when he finds out that his daughter is deaf, I was a mess. In the theater.
I know we have little girls, but listen,
like
that's the thing about Creed 2 that shouldn't have worked. The whole premise is so stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, so Apollo's son's gonna fight the Russian son that killed his dad. Okay, right. And you're watching it going, this works. This feels real.
Yeah.
When he's in the diner with his wife, and he looks up at the ESPN showing like highlights of the fight between Apollo and that's it. Like it brought it down to real life because Rocky IV, as you know, is this heightened, crazy cartoon Rocky movie in the height of the Cold War. You know, of course it is. Still not amazing. The director's cut though.
Nope.
Right? That's what my boy.
I know. Seriously,
fist bump. Sorry, Ryan Haas. The director's cut is shit.
It is such garbage.
It's garbage. I mean, you just changed the whole movie to change it.
Anyways, that's a whole separate.
That's all podcast. I know. But I will say this. I will say that the one thing I did like about the director's cut. No. The fight between Apollo and Drago, I wish that was in the theatrical cut. That's the only thing the reason I do is because
say about the eulogy.
No. Less is more. Less is more. I mean, he did a fine job in acting in that director's cut, but that scene where he's just it's more internalized, and he's like, you know, he always did things his way. I never understood it, but now I understand. I'll never forget you, Apollo. That to me, that's more powerful than my friend. But the fight in Creed 2, Apollo puts up more of a fight, man.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit more honorable. Other than that, but okay. So moving on. So we'll talk about Creed 3 when I see it. I'm excited.
Here's the thing that
if I do miss it tonight, I'll see it Monday for sure. Go ahead.
It is it's more personal. It's more personal for Adonis.
Even more personal than fighting the son of the man that killed his father.
Yeah, it's way more personal than that. Because
he's in the movie, right? I mean, that's fine.
Oh, Drago?
Drago's son, right?
Yeah, Drago's son is in the
movie. Because I've seen him. So I know he's in the movie. All right.
Yeah, he's a sparring partner.
All right, so let's talk about it more. So you're not gonna Ryan Haas told me to watch the deleted scene in Creed 2 between Adonis and what's his name? Not Ivan or Yvonne. Victor. And I did. He's like, that scene should have been that scene sort of is.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Because that's a great scene, dude.
That's an amazing scene.
I was like, I get why it wasn't in the film, I guess, because it could have been anticlimactic. I say that Jen makes fun of me because I say that wrong. I leave out a syllable, right? Anticlimactic. How do you say it? Anticlimactic. Yeah. Whatever. I don't give a shit.
It's like the way I say. Sometimes I say documentary. I'll say documentary.
Documentary. There's certain words where my Texan comes out too, man. Well, very specifically my Mesquite, Texas. I gotta watch it. I don't have an accent, but I do have a vernacular sometimes. Is that the right way to phrase that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, so yeah, I'm excited for Creed. And then just real quick, so you're not gonna go see. I'm gonna take my girls to see Shazam next weekend.
Shanope.
Come on, just go see it.
Shanope.
Let's just go see it so we can talk about it.
Shanope. Nope.
Whatever.
I think and I'll tell you the other thing that I can't stand going back. Let's bookend this whole bad boy. Is I think Zachary Levi was like miscast.
Maybe.
They're looking at John Cena. I would have totally bought John Cena as Shazam.
He's too big though.
Well, he's a superhero. What do you mean he's too big?
Well, I don't know, man. And maybe for that universe, it's fine. Like for me, that would have made
sense against Black Adam.
And any character that has an alter ego that's living amongst us in society, and like for instance, Ben Affleck is Batman, and I have a lot of issues with Batman versus Superman, and I don't think either one of those Justice League movies are worth crap. That Snyder cut, director's cut, extended version, whatever it is not any better than the theatrical version. In my opinion, that's fine. But he is a great Batman. He just didn't have the right project. But my issue with him as Batman is that he's like, dude, he's taller than me, man. He's like 6'4", and he's 250, and he's stacked. Like Bruce Wayne walks around like that. Come on, that's obviously Batman, right? You know what I mean? Like that's why Superman needs to be unassuming. Clark Kent does.
Well, that's the rolling of the shoulders and the posture that
dude,
that
and that's what
takes.
That's what Chris Reeve does.
Yeah, he nailed that.
So underrated because he was tall, dude. He was 6'4", 6'5".
I mean, you see it in the first Superman movie where he, after they go flying around and whatever, and he's like, Lois, and his voice changes and he stands up straight, and then she's like,
when he takes his glasses off to
reveal to her, and then she's like, huh? And then he's like, oh, well, and he kind of cowers again. I'm like, that's just
every actor that auditions for that role moving forward should have to do that scene. I mean, even if that's not going to be the characterization, just if they can pull that scene off, they can do it. If I may have, I say this, it's kind of funny on a side note. When I was auditioning for Superman Returns back in 04 and 05 or 03 and 04, because it was filmed in 05, right? Yeah, I think that's right. They had a script for a while that was the worst dog crap I've ever read in my life. And I thought, why? And then the auditions transitioned. They ditched that script, and then everybody was reading off Superman the movie.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I'm talking, this is when it was down to probably like 100 actors for it. And all of a sudden I'm reading, I read some scenes from the rooftop scene, in fact, with Lois. Not that particular scene, but the whole thing with the underwear and all that. I read that. You know why? Because it's like the essence of the characters captured there. So I mean, look, I'm by the way, this is a good segue real quick. We'll wrap it up with this conversation. James Gunn, Superman Legacy, he's directing. I personally am excited. I think if you watch his films like Guardians of the Galaxy, the humor, the heart, if he can apply that to Superman, I think we could have something really special.
Good luck.
You don't think so?
It's not even that I don't think so. I'm just that doesn't work. That to me doesn't work for Superman.
All right, well, let's see. Let's let the movie
like
come
I
out.
said, I think we had it on the thread. I was saying he's really good at nailing the ensemble kind of group, the ragtag group of people. I think he does, like the Suicide Squad. I love that movie. I think that movie was great.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, great. If he were the one directing the Fantastic Four, bring it on. Right. I think he does those things that like the differences in personalities and characteristics. I think he nails that. That though doesn't apply. And I'm not saying he can't evolve and be a different director for this film because he is.
But it can in the Daily Planet. Because Richard Donner did that, and to give Richard Lester credit, did as well. Like all that stuff that's happening in the Daily Planet in that first Superman movie, with Perry White and Olsen and Lois, and really all the miscellaneous people walking. Man, dude, that to me is very similar.
Yeah, but the whole movie isn't about the crew at the Daily Planet.
It's not, but it's a B-reel that's rolling. That's very important to the heart of it all. So, and who's to say that he can't elaborate that a little bit more?
We'll see. I mean, the jury's still out.
The jury's still out. All right. So very cool. Anything? Why don't you plug? Let's get out of here. It's Saturday. We can get to our families.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you guys, if you like what I have to say, or if you vibe with anything,
I love.
You don't like what I have to say. Well, get at me at the Fanboy Garage on Twitter. You can also find me on Instagram at Aaron Speaks. But that's it.
All right, buddy. I hope to see you this year. I got to see you twice last year.
No, once.
So my stepdaughter's doing this Juilliard thing, but it's actually going to be in Orlando.
Right?
So, but I'm still going to try to get up to New York. Anyway, I love you, buddy. Good to see you. Let's chat again soon. Guys, thank you very much for watching this live show of Friends from Work. I'm Rick Shue on behalf of myself, Brian Chatlin, Courtney Cheek. We thank you very much. Our podcast, our most recent podcast is up on iTunes, wherever you download great podcasts where Brian and Courtney break down their previous episode of The Mandalorian. And Courtney's got this really cool thing now where we're doing like this top 5 pop culture countdown. It's awesome. I'm not prepared for that for this live show, but tune into the podcast, check it out. We love you guys. Thanks, and Freak Base, you rock. See, we're live. Do it live. See, we're not in a multi-million-dollar studio. Dude,
okay, turn it off.
Hold on. Here we go. Y'all ready?
Get down.